Hello everybody, my name is Angel and welcome back to my little corner of the internet. And if you're new here, welcome. I hope you stick around. Hello. It's been a while since I sat down in front of the camera. Not that you guys know the difference because none of my videos come out in a sequential order that makes any sense relative to the time that I record or edit them. Anyway, I'm currently using a different camera in case you couldn't tell. My personal camcorder is perfectly fine, but I'm borrowing a camera from my school for a class and I decided to utilize the better equipment while I had access to it. I'm saving up for a camera, but it'll be a little while before I get it, so you know. It's vibes. Anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get into this video. We're gonna start this video as we usually do with a breakdown of our characters. Please do not mind the obnoxious sound of my heat in the background. Our main character is this woman. Her name is Danny. She's 37, recently divorced, and her kid is in school in the Philippines. She's at a boarding school in the Philippines. Personality-wise, she's pretty shy, timid, your typical average drama character. She just trying to vibe, you know? Anyway, and then we have her main love interest. Boom. This is him. His name is Eunho. He's probably in his late 20s. I don't know if they ever actually give him an age. I know he's younger than her and they make a big deal out of it. Yada, yada, yada. He's adorable. Also, he runs a company and he's a writer. Anyway, then we have this group of side characters. We have a set of interns that work at a publishing company. We'll get into them later. I don't remember any of their names and I didn't write any of them down, so I guess it wasn't that important to me. And then we have this set of main editors at the publishing company where the interns work as well. Okay, now that I've given you a very messy breakdown of all of our characters, let us get into the plot of this show. Yeah, so the first episode starts with a wedding, but then the bride runs out in the middle of her wedding and Eunho goes to look for her. As it turns out, Miss Girl ran into the back of Eunho's car, so when he drives off, she pops out the back seat and he's like, ha, I'm not helping you escape your wedding. They park the car and they go sit down outside of a convenience store or whatever, and they're kikiing, they're drinking something. I think it's Yakult, but I could be wrong. That was an assumption that might be incorrect. They're drinking something, they're sitting there talking, and then his car gets towed because he parked it where he wasn't supposed to. So they have to run back to her wedding, but they make it. She gets married, all is well, but apparently now it's not. Several years later, she's divorced. That's our main character. Her name, once again, is Danny. This is all about the main character. They gave us a weird flashback of her wedding, which I feel like they could have skipped, but... So, once upon a time, she used to work in advertising, but she stopped to take care of her kid, who I think is maybe 7 or 8 by now. I don't remember. Now she's trying to get back into it, because as we mentioned, she's divorced, and now she has to take care of her kid and pay her school fees and etc, etc. Everyone I wrote here is so bitter, because she goes to an interview and everyone's really angry and aggressive for some reason, they all want to eat each other's heads. I don't really know. They're all ready to stab each other in the back. It's crazy. Meanwhile, while she's looking for an advertising job, she's been working in secret as Eunho's housekeeper. She does her work during the day while he's out and about running a company because she's broke and homeless. Oh, did I mention Eunho is editor-in-chief of a publishing company? That's the company that I keep mentioning. Also, he teaches university literature classes? Yeah, he does a lot with his schedule. Shout out to him. He's a professor, an editor-in-chief, and a writer. Doing the most. Anyway, Eunho fires his housekeeper. I don't remember why, but he fires his housekeeper. Also, as far as he knows, Danny hired the housekeeper, but it's just Danny. But now, Danny's in trouble because, again, her daughter goes to boarding school and they need some sort of proof that she's financially stable enough to keep the child in school. Anyway, she spends the night in an abandoned building that is apparently being demolished the next morning, so she has to hightail it out of there. And now she's really in trouble because she has nowhere to sleep. Anyway, that morning that she got kicked out of the demolition derby, she was supposed to go to an interview, but then at a bus stop, her shoe got kicked into the street, and she called them to say, hey maids, I need to postpone, and they were like, no. And then she starts crying. Her life is in shambles, and she's now losing hope. Oh, and then she finds out her kid had to go to the hospital for a tummy ache. Now she's got to pay the medical bills for that. Love it here. Anyway, apparently Eunho had a girlfriend for a minute, I guess, and she broke up with him and told him she's getting married, and he was being super duper apathetic, like he ain't care not the slightest. So she grabbed a cup of water, and he dead told her to wait so he could take off his jacket, and then she splashed him and then the coat. And he was like, are you serious? You for real? I just thought it was really funny. He was like, wait. Go. Anyway, fast forward some hours. She's minding her business, walking down the street, and some random drunk guy grabs her, and some stranger shows up to rescue her. So shout out to him. Oh, turns out he found her shoe in the middle of the street earlier and he picked it up. That's why it mysteriously disappeared when she was gonna go across the street to get it. And then she tossed out the other shoe when she lost the first one, and he happened to go to that convenience store, so he just has her shoes. And then he returns them to her in some Cinderella type beat, and she gives him a green onion plant that she was carrying with her, and he gives her an umbrella. It's cute. Oh yeah, she finally reached out to Eunho like properly and spent the night, told him about the divorce, but he didn't really believe her because she waited a year to tell him that she was getting divorced. Anyway, at the end of episode 1, she applies to work as a temp at Eunho's company. It has nothing to do with Eunho. In fact, he doesn't even know she applies. So basically what happened was when she went to all of her advertising interviews, they all told her that she was like too out of practice because according to them, an old dog can't learn new tricks. So because she took that 7-year gap, the advertising business is completely different and she's completely useless. It's too late for her to get in. So now she has decided to go ahead and apply for a job in a completely different field. She rips up all of her certificates and master's degrees and applies as though she only has a high school diploma. I guess it's supposed to be symbolic, but in my head, I'm like, girl, you can get copies of all of those papers. Like, the certification doesn't go away because you ripped up a document. Those are on record somewhere. Anyway, in episode 2, Eunho has a crisis over Danny's situation, even though it's not his life that's falling apart. Then we get the scene of the mystery night and his new pet plant, the green onion. I call it a pet plant because he tells the plant it's going to hurt for a moment when he's going to cut off a spring. He's so adorable. It was so cute. He was like, okay, little onion, I'm gonna cut off a sprig. It's gonna hurt, but just for a second, I promise. Oh, I call him Mystery Night for I think my entire video notes because I didn't remember his name. And then she started calling him Usonim, which is umbrella stranger, basically. Because she didn't want to give him her name or learn his. I don't know, some weird thing. And because they had the whole Cinderella moment and he like saved her from that random drunk, I just started calling him Mystery Night. Just an FYI. This is him. By the way, he's a relevant enough character. I probably should put him at the beginning, but ta-da! Jajang! Also, he has a dog. It's a golden retriever, I'm pretty sure. I love the dog. I forgot his name. I think it's maybe Rain? Like a word for rain, but I think it's Gumbek? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, she gets the job at Eunho's company, but only because they think she's a high school graduate. Then I write, I'm sure there's going to be a love triangle here because they showed the mystery night walking his dog. He's very precious, but like, why did we need to see that if he was just some random stranger who helped her on the street, you know? My brain clocked it. These dramas are very formulaic. Anyway, Danny is staying at Eunho's. I don't remember if he knows that she's still there. I'm pretty sure he does, but it doesn't matter because I wrote here that she stole a piece of Eunho's toast while he was in the shower. He made himself breakfast and she snatched one and ran out the door. Also, Eunho freaks out when he finds out that she applied there because he was doing interviews for the temp position, saw her name, and he like lost his mind, but then he left the interview, so it didn't really matter. Okay, so after she gets hired, but before her first day of work, Eunho takes her to get a makeover because her closet is not appropriate for his workplace. Not in like a too much skin sort of way, but like all of her clothes are like old lady clothes because she's 37 and has been a housewife for at least 7 years. Anyway, there's a makeover montage and the lady who runs the shop is very, very pretty. She is one of Eunho's exes, but also she's gay. So, in case you haven't gotten it by now, Eunho is madly in love with Danny. I didn't mention this until now. I figured it was gonna be obvious to y'all, but if it wasn't, Eunho's madly in love with her. Why? Because she saved him from a speeding car when he was like 10. The way she flipped over that vehicle was so comical. I'm really sorry. Like, I shouldn't think it's hilarious, but I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world. She went, what? It was like watching a Mario Kart crash, but like vertically. That was so terrible. I am so sorry. Anyway, after she saved him from a speeding car, she was in the hospital for almost a year with like an entire full body cast. And he visited her every day, reading her comics and bringing her snacks. And eventually he fell in love with her, but reading her comic books in the hospital is how he fell in love with writing. And I just think that's such a cute story. Romance is a Bonus book is such a cute drama. Like, chef's kiss. Anyway, on her first day of work, Eunho keeps trying to help her, but like low key through like cute little texts and stuff. Like there's a point where they send her to get a aibala, and she's like, I don't know what that means. It means iced vanilla latte. That's how they say it to shorten down the words, because iced vanilla latte, I guess, takes too many words. Also, the Mystery Knight is apparently a book designer. He designs book covers, and in a completely predictable state of K-drama irony, Eunho's company wants to hire him to design book covers for them because his book covers sell, and theirs are not that great. Anyway, Mystery Knight and Danny meet up again. It's really cute. I think they just meet up in a park. I don't write too much about it. And then Eunho gets a whole room in his apartment set up for Danny. It is so cute. He bought her new furniture and everything. Ugh, meanwhile, she's busy kikiing with the Mystery Knight. It's okay though. Anyway, she had been sleeping up in the attic and he moved all of her stuff down to this spare room that he set up for her without telling her. And then she starts showing, like she comes home and she starts berating and abusing him because she thinks he's kicking her out. And then she has to apologize because that's not what's happening. But you know, he didn't think to tell her before he started moving all of her things around. Ciao. Anyway, fast forwarding a little bit. There's a meeting pitch for a blurb for a new mystery novel that they're trying to sell. And Danny wants to participate even though she's a newbie. And so she does. And she comes up with a pitch that the higher-ups like. But one of the supervisors takes credit for it, so we have a moment of sadness. Eunho and Danny are kikiing at their house, drinking, having good old jolly time, and then Danny goes to the bathroom, and then Eunho hops in a cab, but they were drinking at his house, so yeah, apparently he went to go drink in front of Danny's place because when she was living there, like her old house that she doesn't live in anymore, but when she was living there, he would always go there when he was drunk, not to talk to her, say hi or anything, just to stand outside her house because he missed her. That lady I mentioned earlier, Editing Angel, here to say that I totally forgot to mention her earlier. She works at the publishing company with everybody else, and that's all you need to know about her. I don't know her name still. They call her the Ice Queen, so we'll just call her that. She has a crush on Eunho. He either doesn't know or just chooses not to acknowledge it, and her mom stands them as a couple. Anyway, eventually Eunho manages to track down Danny's grimy ex-husband by accident, actually. I don't think he was looking for him. He just happens upon him in a stroke of luck, depending on who you ask, and he beats him up. He rocks him, mollywops him through his damn kitchen. It's what he deserves anyway. So now he has a new wife or baby mama or something. So Eunho told the ex-husband to start paying child support. Period. And initially the ex-husband is like, I'm broke. And he's like, well, you could either pay child support or I'll just come visit you again. Godfather style. Period. And meanwhile, Danny is kikiing with the Mystery Knight again because she found his dog in the park, and then they went back to his place to eat ramyeon. Every once in a while, someone will mention somebody by the name of Kang Byung-jun, and everyone will get all ruffled. Apparently, he was a super popular author, and when he retired, he gave his publication rights to Eunho's company. My first guess was that Kang Byung-jun was Danny's father. I won't tell you whether that's correct or not because I don't remember. Anyway, apparently once he retired, rumors started that the company locked up the guy, the author, for his publication rights. Wild and crazy. How did I find all of this out? Mystery Knight, Eunho, and one of the other company heads have a meeting, and he's asking all of these questions. Mystery Knight made me super uncomfy for a little while after that. Like, he sat there and pressed them for answers on an author who, like, wanted to disappear. Like, personal grievances aside, right? Because realistically, I think he was doing it to like get on Eunho's nerves. I'm not really sure what his grudges are against Eunho. I think it might have to do with Danny, or maybe he just doesn't like him. I'm not really sure. But when this Kang guy retired, he wanted to disappear. Like, he wanted off the face of the earth. Nobody can find him because he doesn't want to be found, right? He released a public statement where he talked about it. There's a very specific reason for it, but we'll get into that later. He completely wanted to be off the face of the earth. That was a choice that he consciously made. A lot of people don't believe it. They think that the company did some shady stuff, whatever else in the third. But with no real proof that that's what happened, it's kind of disrespectful. This author wanted to disappear. As far as you know, you have no reason to believe any foul play was involved, besides the fact that he was at his height of his career. He released a statement on his own saying that he wanted to disappear, and you're so pressed to find out if there's some scandal here that you're basically ignoring the author's supposed last wishes. Nice. Anyway, so there's this big marketing meeting happening at one point, and the two main marketer people are always fighting over ideas. It's like kind of like a scale thing, right? So one of them will win idea once, and then that pushes the other one to get a better idea for the next meeting, and then she wins, and they keep going back and forth like that. So during the meeting, Danny decides to pitch an idea. It's this really cute idea of wrapping the book up and not advertising it at all, like a mystery novel. It's like a Secret Santa sort of thing. You just pick a book and you buy it without knowing anything about it. I don't remember exactly how they do it, but it's like a gift to yourself. That's how Danny explains it. It's so cute. Anyway, one of the editor ladies is really mad that Danny is doing well for whatever reason. So she starts giving her a bunch of like frivolous tasks to try and like, I don't know, break her spirit. But like a bad bitch, Miss Danny is undeterred. But then the author of a novel that they're advertising wants to pull his contract. So Eunho, Danny, and Miss Ice Queen, who actually isn't that bad when you get to know her, they go to talk to him. They manage to convince him to push forward with the publishing. Hooray! And anyway, Ice Queen tells Danny about her crush on Eunho without saying a name, but Danny figured it out because big brain, it's pretty obvious. And then Ice Queen goes to his house because she's drunk. Why do all of these people turn up unannounced at their unrequited crush's door while they're drunk? Y'all ain't got nothing better to do. Anyway, because she's there, Danny goes for a walk and she runs into the Mystery Knight, aka Mr. Umbrella, and they get dinner together and finally exchange names and numbers. For context, nobody at the publishing company knows that Danny and Eunho are living together. I don't remember if it was Danny's idea or Eunho's. I think it was Danny's, because she's like, I can't let everybody know I'm staying with the boss. It'll feel weird. They'll think that I'm only here because of that. And then Eunho joins them. And the boys have their little testosterone off, as boys usually do. It was really stressful for me. But I don't think Danny realized what was going on. Because Eunho doesn't like him for two reasons. One, he's mooching on his girl. And two, he's doing the most about the whole author guy. Anyway, speaking of the author guy, yeah, turns out he's Eunho's dad. And that shook me to my core. Like, I knew they were close because they show us a bunch of clips of them kikiing together. But I assumed it was because of the last name that he was Danny's dad, not Eunho's. Okay, I'm sorry. They took Danny's marketing project from her. And that's why my jaw dropped. I completely forgot that happened. I wrote it in all caps. Stop, no, because they took her marketing project from her. Oh, they credited someone else at the company because Danny's on the support team and not a marketer. I hate it here. Ciao, anyway. Mystery Knight asks Danny on a date, even though they've been like kikiing unofficially for the last month or so. I don't know. I have no concept of time here. And Eunho gets real petty about it. He tries to keep her late at work, and then he texts her like 20 times about random stuff to get her attention. But then she tells Mystery Knight about being divorced and having a kid and being 37, and he dropped his utensils, spit out his drink, and froze up in that order in response to the respective pieces of information. It was such a mess. I mean, she don't like him no more because of all that. It's really ironic because I don't think all of those were intentional. Anyway, she goes home and I think she tells Eunho about the situation because there's a scene later where Eunho tells Mystery Knight that his entire body was refusing to accept Danny, and that absolutely sent me. By the way, in case you haven't caught on, I've completely forgot a good chunk of this show. Like all of the shocking bits that I wrote down here, I'm genuinely re-reacting to because I don't remember them. Anyway, in apology, Mystery Knight gets Danny a giant spring onion plush, and it's so cute, and he designed the plush. Like, it's one of a kind. It's so cute. I'm sorry. Anyway, he takes her to some restaurant to apologize for what happened on their first date, and then he suggests that they start seeing each other casually, which I think they've already technically been doing without putting a label on it. They take the bus to work together and they have dinner if they get off work at the same time, and he makes an effort to get off work at the same time as her. So it turns out he works from home, which means he just makes it look like he works somewhere so that he can meet up with her and go to dinner with her. It's so cute. When she tells Eunho, he finally decided to man up and sort of be direct, but still not all the way, about the fact that he has feelings for her. Yeah. He has a really hard time admitting that. Anyway, it turns out Miss Ice Queen has been leaving love letters in Eunho's bookshelf every time she comes to visit. And so the hope is that he'll open the bookshelf, pick up a book, and see her little love note. She's left like 13 of them. They're all numbered. But this is how I found out that he actually knows about her crush and actively ignores it. Because he knows the letters are there. He sees them and he just puts them right back and pretends he didn't. Anyway, there's this one book that they're publishing, and it's a big deal because this author is one of the few who still handwrites her manuscripts, and Eunho is tasked with digitizing them. And the president of the company asks Danny to help him, so that's how they're bonding at this point. It's kind of cute. It's a little bit of a tedious task, but there's a point where she like falls asleep on his shoulder, and he just gently caressing her face and like touching her lips. And then it starts snowing and they have a little chit chat. She's finally connecting the dots, and Straight asks him if he likes her, and he still doesn't give her a straight answer. I called him a coward in my notes because you've been trying to tell her this for how long? She just gave you an open door and you say some cryptic foolishness and walk away. Anyway, here's a few side plots because the next episode is kind of boring, apparently. The Ice Queen and the Mystery Knight are bonding low-key. I feel like they would be a good fit for each other. Two of the other new hires are fake dating to get the girl's mom to leave her alone, and that's not going well because she doesn't like him. The mom doesn't like the boy. Two other employees got divorced, and they're both a mess, but in very different ways. Like, he's like a blubbering train wreck, and she's trying to live it up like she's 16 again or 17 again. And finally, Eunho wrote a letter back to the Ice Queen telling her that he cares about her but not the way she wants him to. And it's a kind of sweet scene, but then she goes home and starts crying with her parents about being rejected. That part was pretty weird because they start threatening him. Anyway, back to the important plot, like the main plot of the story. Eunho's dad, the author, you know, he's not doing so hot. I don't know what happened exactly, but he like fell in the place where he's staying, and Eunho went to see him, and they like tied him to a bed. So I said here, I think it was a suicide attempt instead of saying like the actual word, because he's bruised up real bad, and Danny is like really concerned because Eunho was gone all day and didn't show up at work the next morning, and he disappears without a word for like a solid week. And when he finally comes home, he's like sick, and they finally have a conversation about how he feels about her. And she doesn't openly reject him, but she seems distraught, so I guess the consensus is she does not reciprocate, but I don't really know. Anyway, Danny, Ice Queen, Eunho, and Mystery Knight all go to dinner together one day after 3/4 of this quad had a meeting together. Mystery Knight cooks for everyone, he cuts his finger, and Eunho takes a really sick sense of joy in the fact that Danny did not offer him a band-aid, because Danny carries band-aids everywhere because she usually gets blisters on her ankles, and when he cut his finger, she didn't offer a band-aid. Not really sure why. Anyway, when they get home, Eunho kisses her on the front porch. Anyway, fast forward some weeks because nothing super interesting happens. And then Danny breaks off her casual relationship with Mystery Knight. Afterwards, there's a book reading event that Danny has to host because the marketing lady in charge of it had to deal with a family issue. And then everything all falls apart. The event's going well. That's not the problem. The Ice Queen notices a connection between Eunho and Danny, and if that wasn't enough of a problem, somebody at the event recognizes Danny from an interview and tells one of the directors that Danny used to work in advertising, that she has a college degree and all these other achievements. I spent the entire next episode stressed out. I knew she was gonna get fired, but they kept filling the episode with all this random stuff that like was supposed to be distracting, I guess, but I couldn't not focus on it. And eventually the director tells Eunho that he has to fire her, so he tries to find her another job before he fires her. Anyway, there's this really dramatic scene where all the executives walk in wearing trench coats, and they walk in a pyramid formation. It's really funny. They're literally just voting on publishing a poetry collection. Milk and Honey type beat, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, one of the marketing team ladies wants Danny on the marketing team officially as opposed to support staff. And so she brings it up at the executive meeting. And then Miss Director tells all of them about Danny lying about her qualifications. And the president agrees that firing her is the best decision. I still don't really understand what the big deal is. But anyway, Miss Marketing Lady and Danny are like sort of friends. So she tells Danny about the gossip and she goes to the president to tell her why she did it. And she asks if he'll reconsider. But then she resigns just on her own because I guess people found out that she was overqualified and started to act weird around her. And she's like, yeah, I don't like this energy. Then one of the employees lies that Danny was supposed to do something that she didn't do. But the person never asked her to do it. She only said that to avoid being chewed out by the director. I hate it here. I was just reading my notes straight off the page. I wrote I hate it here because basically she's supposed to fax something to, I don't know, a printing house so that they could get some copies of a book ordered. And she was supposed that like some random woman who works there was supposed to do it. And then she said she had asked Danny to do it. And Danny was like, I don't remember that. But the lady insists that she had her do it. And Danny's like, I mean, I guess it's possible that I forgot. And so, yeah, at this point, basically Danny was fired because someone lied on her name. It's so ugly. Because it turns out Miss Lady did not tell Danny anything, which, of course, we already knew. And then she tries to hide the fact that she didn't tell Danny anything. And then she accidentally jams the shredder, trying to cover up her lies. It's a mess. It's a real mess. Oh, and at this point, Eunho and Danny are like officially dating. It's so cute. They spend the whole day together after she quits/is fired. And it's so wholesome because they just like nap and watch movies and cuddle and read. I love their relationship. Meanwhile, Ice Queen and Mystery Knight are hosting a little pity party over the fact that Eunho and Danny are dating. Even though Mystery Knight is kind of mad at her for the last few weeks because of an incident with cucumber, which she's allergic to. Anyway, Danny gets a new job at a small publishing company, and 2 days in, she's tired because apparently her bosses are crazy and have her doing projects for their kid, like school projects. At this point, we're on episode 14 out of 16, and like K-dramas love to do, everything starts to unravel all at once. Anyway, a manuscript that supposedly is written by Kang Byung-jun appears at the publishing company, and Danny finds out that Mr. Author is sick. It's Alzheimer's. This is why he retired, by the way. He retired early because he realized he had Alzheimer's and he didn't want the world to remember him as somebody who like wasn't even able to write anymore. So, you know, he was like, I'm gonna disappear before things get bad. Early on, when he found out he had Alzheimer's, he initially was just gonna off himself, and Eunho saves him and yada yada yada. So technically the author isn't Eunho's biological father. He's just like his father-like figure. Anyway, the manuscript turns out to be from Mystery Knight using a fake name to try and find out the truth about Kang. So earlier in the show, there was like a company idea contest that was happening, and all of the employees were eligible, and Danny entered, but she quit before the contest was like, the winner was decided, and it's an anonymous contest. But she ends up winning the contest, of course. So they hire her back, and it's really cute. The president shows up in his trench coat again. Remember how I mentioned that somebody lied? Yeah, everything came out about that here. And then the Ice Queen finds out about the manuscript from the mystery author, and she finds out that it's from Mystery Knight. As it turns out, Mystery Knight is Kang's biological son. That's why he was so pressed to find out what happened to the author. That's his father. But he didn't know he had a son because the mom kept it from him. So apparently Eunho promised that he'd be the author's son because as far as the author knew, he didn't have one. So that's how we got to the Eunho is his son thing. Anyway, after Eunho, Ice Queen, and Danny pieced together that Mystery Knight wrote the manuscript and that he's the author's biological son, Eunho meets with him and gives him a bag full of all of the author's old journals and notes and stuff that he'd kept when the author retired. And then Mystery Knight asks to go see the author, but when they go to him, he's apparently passed away. So we get this really emotional scene of them reading the will. I'm literally going to... And then the publishing company releases an anniversary edition of his last novel, which included his medical diagnosis and some of his letters that he wrote over the years. Excuse my heating just came on. Love that for me. Oh, for context, his last novel was supposed to be called, I don't remember what the name was supposed to be, but he found out that he had a son right before he released that novel, and so he changed the title to his son's birthday. It is so wild because nobody actually knew why he changed the name, and at this point now he doesn't remember because he's gone with the wind by that point. So nobody actually knew why the title was that, and that was, I guess, his way of commemorating the fact that he had a son he never knew about. Our last 20 minutes of the show, the Ice Queen brought the Mystery Knight lunch and they have a cute little bonding meal. And then a couple days later, at a meeting, he asks her on a date. It's cute. I'm gonna assume that they end up together. Danny goes looking for an apartment, and then Eunho tells her that if she's moving, she gotta take him with her. So they decide that she's not moving out. Anyway, to the very end, the whole company goes to lunch, and after they're all walking around in a park, and Eunho grabs her hand, and that's how they announce to the entire company that they're dating. It's really, really cute, and then they kiss under an archway of trees. And that is the end of Romance is a Bonus Book. Anyway, this has been, Romance is a Bonus Book in a very messy nutshell. Look at me. I literally was finding out parts of the plot as we were going. It's crazy. I hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah. Wait. Hi. At the end of all of my videos, I include a question for you to answer down below in the comment section. So this week's question is going to be, what's your favorite video game? I impulsively bought myself a Switch like a month ago, and I've been obsessed with Mario Kart since I got it. So go ahead and drop your favorite video game down below. This is the real end of the video. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit the little bell so that you never miss one of my videos. And I hope to see you next time.